there have been quite a few things I seem to talk about a lot on this, and it's becoming quite a habit. I mean, I think you can go over many different topics from my reviews that I seem to focus on a lot. And I've reviewed a lot of stuff involving Blinky Bill. I spend a lot of time on Marvel, on MCU stuff. And then there is my theme of Roald Dahl. I mean, I've said before how much I adore his books. But if there's one book that always seems to pop up, well, a story of his that always seems to pop up on this channel is The Witches. Oh boy, I can never escape it. I mean, the original book is still a classic. The 90s film is good, but the fact they changed the ending so drastically does sort of leave bad taste in the mouth. And the 2020 film, while more faithful, does change things still changes things that seem a bit strange. But adds some things that still, every version has things that in it that other versions don't. I mean, I will say this, and when it comes to the effects of the movies, I greatly appreciate more the animatronics and practical effects used for the 90s film, worked of course on by Jim Henson, compared to all the CGI in Robert Zemeckis' movie. But with that said, after the release of Zemeckis' movie last year, I figured probably won't be anything else involving this subject matter in a long time. Boy, was I wrong. Because I don't know if this was just released this year, but lo and behold, Scholastic has released a graphic novel of the book. Yeah, and well, of course, it's Roald Dahl's original story, all that, but this graphic novel is worked on by Penelope Magnew. Sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. But what is different in this novel? Well, let's start off by saying this. The basic premise is the same. In fact, the ending is the same as the original book, which is good. But they sort of tie. But here's the thing. What this novel does is that it ties many different aspects from each version of the story. So the original book by Dahl, the 90s film, and the 99 film and the 2020 movie. You can tell what areas come from which story. But I mean, let me give an explanation. At the end of this book, the boy and his grandmother and his friend prepare to go across the world and take care of all the witches. And of course, that happens in the original book, but they changed it a bit with the order, like they did in the 2020 film, where they do the scene where they discuss the boy's new age limit before they get to solving how to get rid of all the witches in the world. Yeah, so that's one thing. Another thing that happens is the death of the Grand High Witch. They borrow that from the 99 film, and let me be thankful for this. I'm glad they did that, because that was a very satisfying death. Watching her get cleaved in half. Fuck. Oh, it's like watching the boogeyman of your nightmares just getting sliced up right in front of you. Yeah. I mean, not to say the 2020 film's Death of the Grand High Witch was bad. Far from it. But it's not as satisfying as seeing her get cut in half compared to saying getting eaten alive by a cat. At least it's... And honestly, Dahl never did say what happened to the Grand High Witch when she got turned into a mouse. But in the original book, so yeah. But, and there are plenty of things like that. There are some differences here too. I mean, I don't think this was in the original book. I mean, but the grandmother can, in many ways, is very in the original book. The grandmother seems like a basic grandmother. The 90s film, she's a lot more smarter, but you can definitely see a bit more of her age starting to creep in, as she's a lot more frail and she's more, I don't know, and it's hard to say, but what she's like. And in the 2020 film, she's a healer, she's a doctor, she's more superstitious and everything. This grandmother is completely different. She smokes, she gambles. Okay, I don't think she gambles, but basically she is more grouchy, more cynical. She's very, very different. With that said, I'm okay with different interpretations, but I don't know. And with the crude style of this this graphic novel, kind of fits into what they're presenting with this grandmother, but in some cases it's radically different. So it's really hard to say what I really think of this change. I'll just get a picture of what the grandmother looks like as she smokes. I'm sure it's somewhere around here. I'm looking. Ah, here we are. Yeah, take a look if you can. Yeah, there we go, with her cigar. So yeah, that's one thing. The other major difference is with the friend. Now, every adaptation I know up to this point always has Bruno, who quickly becomes the boy's friend after they both get turned into a mouse. Bruno's not in this. No, he's not. What do? Who do they? Well, obviously they've got to have a kid in there who becomes friends with the boy. Who do they have in it? Well, hold up a sec. We have tried and true thing you would get in many classic children's stories. The partner in this is a girl. Hey, I'm cool for gender equality, no problems, but this just seems so forced. I mean, and just to give the boy a love interest. I mean, yeah, the 2020 film had a girl mouse, but Bruno was still in it. And this one, and she was her own different character. This one is just replacing Bruno. And look, I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, far from it, but with scenes like parts like this, yeah, right here, you can clearly tell where they're going with this. In fact, after the witches all get turned into mouse, into mice, you know what they say at this point? When the boy says farewell to the girl, he tells her their address if they ever want to meet up and have, yeah, you can basically tell what they're doing. It's very formulaic, to say the least. But you know, in the end, I still thought it's still the same story in the end. I mean, it's still basically the same as what Dahl originally wrote. And you know, I like ideas of mashing together things from different sort of adaptations, and you know, something like that. I like that. And to be fair, the drawing style is actually pretty, as I said, while crude, it's still pretty good. So I'd say if you're a fan of the book of the Witches, give it a shot. That's all I can really say. I'm not going to give this a ranking system. This is sort of like, this is an analysis. Besides, I think you all will be glad that I finally actually reviewed something that's something else other than a movie. Yeah. But of course, that's not going to last for long. It's back to movies for my next review, which is the new Mortal Kombat movie. In fact, actually, I'm seeing it tonight. So I'll give you my full thoughts on it in a couple of days. But in the meantime, House of Mounties is out. And, well, I really hope, and well, I'll see you next time. Ciao.